Check out this first clip from CNN.
But it is not just a red state boom. We're also looking at what I would dare call a blue state depression, because who are the people? Who and where are the people moving from into the red states? Well, they're blue states. They're blue states. Take a look here. The lowest domestic net migration this decade. All 5 of the states that were won by Kamala Harris in 2024. Look at this. California, Harris's home state. New York, where I'm coming from right now, of course. Illinois, New Jersey, and of course, the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which is a bastion of blue liberalism. These are the states that folks in the United States are moving away from and into the red states, which is propelling a red state boom.
Well, Americans are leaving California and New York in droves. New census data revealed 500,000 people left California during the COVID pandemic.
More than 250,000 taxpayers moved out of New York and California in 2022. That's according to the latest immigration data from the IRS. Now, when they left, so did their tax revenue. California lost a net $24 billion in income from that out-migration. That brings their total loss since the pandemic to over $136 billion. New York lost $14 billion, bringing its total to $60 billion over that 3 years. Now, the big winner, of course, was Florida. They added $36 billion in income in 2022. Texas gained $10 billion and South Carolina $5 billion.
Believe it or not, as you mentioned, folks are packing up. They are leaving, making these big moves, saying goodbye to cities like here in Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. And the main reason why is money.
We prove together that we value our freedoms and that we are willing to do the hard work necessary to protect our fundamental rights.
We're loading up and moving out, as the appeal of the Golden State seems to be tarnishing, at least for some.
People from across America, they are fleeing the oppression of high taxes, red tape, burdensome regulations in other states, and coming to Texas, where freedom and fortune are found around every corner.
It's just not sustainable in terms of cost of living.
Preston Lee is leaving Los Angeles for Austin, Texas.
It's incomparable. The house that we bought was $700,000 for 4-bedroom, 4.5 bathroom, 4,000 square feet. You can't get an apartment for that here.
More people are exiting California than any other state. New York is second. Many of those leaving are now calling Florida and Texas home.
So what we're about to read, I am personally involved with. I will be moving to Oklahoma, and it is one of the 11-state region that has absorbed 70% of all U.S. population growth in the last 5 years. $9 trillion. And I'm going to take my dollars out of Washington State, and I'm going to go to Oklahoma City. It's just what we're doing. Let's read the article. New economic Iron Curtain. Love that comment. Iron Curtain. You grew up as a kid and you remember the Iron Curtain, it separates. It sounds like something just so impenetrable, right? Is falling across America as the boom belt, an 11-state powerhouse in the U.S. Southeast, shatters records and challenges the traditional financial dominance of New York and Chicago. I mean, I am seeing a lot of fault with New York. I am seeing a lot of the finance stuff go to Dallas, Texas, and Chicago. Oh, man, Chicago has got problems. They have got problems left and right. And you know what they do? They just blame Orange Man bad, right? If we just had more federal tax dollars, we could close our $14 trillion deficit. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Texas Governor Greg Abbott joined forces in Miami on Tuesday to celebrate a $9 trillion gross domestic product region that's now outpacing every other quadrant of the country in population, jobs, and capital investment. I would push back a little bit on this, that it's the South. I would say, yeah, it's predominantly the South. You've got some outliers. You've got Oklahoma, right? That's more Midwest. It's more Midwest. It's not the Southwest. I mean, it's kinda. If you want to go with Texas as the Southwest, I'd say that. Oklahoma, Midwest, right? I think that's fair, right? I often tell people as governor of Florida, here, this is funny. I often tell people as governor of Florida, my job is to closely follow California, Illinois, New York, so I can do precisely the opposite of what they do. Hey, Ron, you need to throw in Washington State, because Washington State is really, really plowing the road for, just absolutely tanking the state financially. And for decades and for generations to come. Nobody's going to want to come here. I mean, I never thought I would leave Washington State. I really didn't. I thought I would die in Washington State. I thought I would die in Bellevue, Washington. Because it's been a great city. It's been a great state. But it's just gone off the rails. Bellevue, not as much, but Seattle, and it's a mind virus. The whole Democrat thing, the whole progressive, the whole liberal nonsense, it's a mind virus. And whatever's in Seattle is coming for Bellevue. Whatever's in Washington State is going to Idaho. You've already seen that in Boise, right? Oh, we're going to fly the pride flag. Why are you flying the pride flag at your main governmental entity? Why are we celebrating our sexuality when it should just be the American flag? Everybody can get behind that, right? All these other flags, fly your state flag, fly your American flag. Call it good. That's the way it should be. So he's watching California, Illinois, New York, and does the opposite. I mean, it's literally opposite day. Whatever Gavin Newsom chooses to do, whatever Let's Go Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago, does, literally follow those folks and do the opposite. Do whatever the opposite of Bob Ferguson is doing. Hey, let's do a millionaire tax. What is that going to do for the millionaires in Washington State? They're going to leave. They're already leaving. The billionaires have already left. They have left the building. This is what happens when you have libtards in charge and a supermajority of libtards in charge that literally can't work their way out of a wet paper bag, right? They make decisions that are just horrific. You are seeing these decisions on the daily, thinking, we need everybody to pay their fair share. The wealthy already are. And they're going to take their businesses and they're going to take their tax revenue, and they already have. And they're saying, bye-bye, gotta go. Florida had more adjusted gross income move into our state since I've been governor than has ever moved into any state in the history of the United States. Florida, right place at the right time, right? I mean, they have just situated themselves as come to Florida. Texas as well. Come to Texas. And those states have been pushing business development. What is Washington State, Oregon State, and California doing? They are pushing businesses and wealthy people out. So who's going to be left in the West Coast, Best Coast? A bunch of middle class and lower income folks that are going to be forced to pay the tax burden because they're left. And by the time they figure it out, oh, God, our taxes are really high. I can't afford this. Where do I go? Right? And so that's part of my decision making. I wake up every day and go, God, Bellevue is an awesome city. I mean, it's epic. It is beautiful. I've got a great house. It's comfortable for me. It's easy. But at the end of the day, it is so fundamentally flawed to be under a governor like Bob Ferguson, who is basically just bringing in an era of communism, socialism, just wealth distribution. And I'm not into that. I'm not into that at all. I want to go to one of the reddest states I can find. My parents are already there. So that's what we're doing, right? Is it as beautiful as Washington State? No, it's not. Does it have some questionable weather patterns? Does it have tornadoes? Yeah, can work around that. What I can't work around is getting up every day, looking at the Seattle Times, and just seeing a bunch of nonsensical, liberal, complete crap. It's complete crap. And they wonder why the city's going down. And it's like, have you guys seen the decision-making you're doing? I mean, these people can't make a decision to save their lives. They've got a homeless industrial complex that I think is running off the hook right now in Seattle. So I want to go to Oklahoma because I need to chill out and I need to just be able to kind of do what I want to do without having this, can I continue staying here? Can I continue living here? Because long term, I can't. It's a no-go. And a lot of that's, mental, but a lot of it's also money. My money goes so much further anywhere other than Washington State, other than if I did a lateral move to California or to Oregon. It's just like, why would you do that? Well, quality of life. Now, that's just nonsense. Total nonsense. The governor spotlighted how Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas now generate $9 trillion in annual GDP. Now, Gavin Newsom, he'll talk about, we've got the biggest GDP in the world as far as one state goes. Yeah, you also got a massive population, and you've got a population that's leaving. You've also got some of the highest poverty levels. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Highest inflation, highest gas prices. The list literally just on and on and on. And that's why people are leaving California and they're going to these states. There's nothing shocking about this. Louisiana and Mississippi. I mean, those are some interesting numbers, right? Louisiana and Mississippi, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Oklahoma. To me, Oklahoma is a real sleeper because it's not really a place folks want to go. And yet it is so affordable because people have this misconception of, my trailer is going to get swept up in a tornado. It's not. That's just not a thing. You know what I mean? You're more likely in Florida to get hit by a hurricane than you are a tornado in Oklahoma. Plus, it's like, okay, if that's going to happen, then, you're just having a bad day. So now generate $9 trillion in annual GDP, trailing only the U.S. and China globally, while absorbing 70% of all the population in the last 5 years. I mean, these are some nutty numbers. And we know that it's going on. But you know where we're really going to see it? We are really going to see it in the next census tracking. I think that the 20 million criminal illegals, a number of those, millions of those will kind of get sorted out. We're already, working our way to deporting a bunch of those folks. And, how many of those folks will end up in Texas? How many of those folks will end up in Florida? A bunch. And as a result, I think this whole, illegal migration, let the criminal illegals come into the country and hopefully they'll vote Democrat. There's some real flaws to that as well. That is not going to go just absolutely as planned. One of the other stories that I'm continually following is all the fraud going on. And I think all the fraud from the governmental programs is a way to basically filter money to all these illegals coming in because the criminal illegals, the Somalis, they don't have any ability to support themselves. So they have to go with these programs that they can siphon off literally millions of dollars from and basically support people who come into the United States that aren't integrating with American culture at all, but they're expected to vote Democrat. I mean, it's an ingenious plan. It's just that, you got guys like Nick Shirley out there. You got any children in the daycare? And they don't. And, everybody just wigs out. But I think Minneapolis, there are some real issues there. And I think folks are aware of the real issues. So you've got a situation where people are moving and they're moving with their dollars and they're moving with their addresses to the red states. And this is something that we have never seen before. And I think this really got kickstarted with the whole pandemic because people saw how things were handled in the pandemic versus, Washington was just, we were locked down. It was terrible. Jay Inslee, based on the data and the science, no, Jay, you were just making stuff up because you were King Inslee for the moment. You want to talk about kings? Yeah, talk about what happened during the pandemic in blue states. Red states, it's fine. It's like the flu. You'll be fine. No mandatory, nonsense. Just that whole thing. We're not really doing that. And then all the politicians from the blue states and all the celebrities. Let's go to Florida. Let's go hang out in Florida. They're open. Who knew? Here's something interesting from Greg Abbott of Texas. Hence, in Texas, even though we would have never had a state income tax, we want to make sure that future generations would not be able to impose an income tax. So we made income taxes unconstitutional in the state of Texas. We made a wealth tax unconstitutional. We made a death tax unconstitutional. And as Jim Lee pointed out, we made a transaction tax unconstitutional. Well, come to find out, our millionaire tax that's going on here in Washington state, that is also unconstitutional. But Democrats, because we have a supermajority here in Washington state, Democrats are hell-bent on taxing the wealthy. So they're going to override it. They're going to take it to the state Supreme Court and they're going to override it. And soon enough, after the millionaires are taxed, everybody's going to get taxed because that's just how this goes. Democrats love a good tax, love to tax and spend. And that's what you're seeing. That is the inevitable decline. So the faster I can get out of Washington state, the better for me, not only from an emotional standpoint, but I can operate fiscally in Oklahoma at so much of an easier level than having to generate the wealth I need to in Washington state and then eventually just have it taken away, right? I won't have the appreciation on my home in Oklahoma. All right, okay. But I've already benefited from being in Washington state, and I am older. I'm looking at retirement years. So that equation to me doesn't bother me. And I think down the road, all the states we talked about, the 9 states we talked about, whatever that was, 11, they will have appreciation as well because you've got population in migration. They're coming to those states. So more folks you have, greater the demand, supply. Are there any states that have massive supply? There's some states that have a little bit of oversupply, but not by much. And those interest rates drop, boom. I think a lot of that inventory just gets taken out. So I think one of the interesting things to follow moving forward is how the big blue states spin their massive deficits, their out-migration, and their lack of business development. That's what's going to be super interesting because the wealthy are in the process of leaving. They're just leaving. They're leaving California. They're leaving Washington state. I mean, why would you want to be here when the state's just literally going to, take a whack out of your net worth or your income? You wouldn't. So how are the big blue states? How are they going to defend this? How are they going to spin this? That's what's going to be interesting. I mean, literally, we saw Kathy Hochul say, we need you guys to come back from Florida and pay your fair share because, this isn't going well. If that wasn't a wake-up call for the big blue cities and states, I don't know what is. But look at Washington state. We're just kind of doing our own thing. And Washingtonians think, we all need to pay our fair share. No, we don't need to pay our fair share. We already are. It's just you're spending too much. And that's the massive difference in the equation between well-run, fiscally conservative states and the blue, mentally challenged state like the one I'm living in, Washington state, which I will soon no longer be here. More on that to come. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.